أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu and welcome everybody to today's class. We will begin as usual with our opening dua. If we could please have our first student on the mic. Assalamu alaikum, discipline in charge.
Walaikum salam. Our first student is G2 725.
G2
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so are you ready for the opening dua today?
Yes.
Excellent. So we'll start with Taboos. I will recite and then you can recite as well. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Translation?
I seek refuge from Allah from Satan the rejected.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Merciful.
Well done. Let's do our Wednesday prayer. Just a second. Rabbi allimni ma huwa khayrun indak.
Rabbi allimni ma huwa khayrun indak.
Very
Oh my
nice.
Lord, teach me what is best for me in your knowledge.
Jazakumullah khairan. Jazak, beautiful recitation. G2 725. Assalamu alaikum. Allah Hafiz. G bete? Yes.
And can my brother read on the practice text?
We'll ask our discipline in charge. Could you give us the number, please?
G2 726.
I will inshallah make a note of it.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Jazakumullah, discipline in charge.
Allah.
Okay. Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so by the grace of Allah, you are all coming up to the end of our course now, just a few weeks left. And we would like you please just to remember all of your etiquettes. I'm sure that you're all perfectly capable of following all of these. Please make sure that you have your correct ID. If you've come in signed in with your name, please change your name to your correct ID in order for you to be a part of today's lesson. And your attendance to go forward as well. Okay. In today's class, we are going to be looking at a new rule. So we've had our opening session and our opening dua. We will go on now to look at assimilation, which is a rule which you would have covered probably before at some point, but we are going to revise this rule today. Our practice text today is chapter 80. And we will be looking and we will be continuing from yesterday, where you began with yesterday's day teacher. So chapter 18, we'll be going for today from verses 18 to 34. We will also be looking at part 18, curious for part 18 of the Holy Quran. Again, we will be continuing with our practice text. And then as per usual, your homework and the closing prayers. Okay, so we are going to begin, as it says here, with our rule in focus, which today is assimilation or idgham naqis, right? So we're going to go over some of the basics first, and then I will move you on to assimilation. Again, now this is a rule that you may have looked at before in previous G class, and most of you will know this through recitation, but we are going to teach it to you so that you understand the terms, the Arabic terms that we use, and the methodology behind why we recite in certain ways, why we make a nasal sound in certain ways as well, which you'll understand in a moment. Okay, so in terms of the basics, excuse me, we have fatha, simple stroke, dhamma, simple stroke, single stroke, and a kasra, simple stroke underneath, right? So each of these has a 1 second timing. When you're reciting these, you will recite for 1 second. So this will be ta, bu, khi. Ta, bu, khi. Very basic, very straightforward. One of the first rules that you learn. okay, in terms of your strokes. Okay. We then, just a sec, have your tanween. Okay, with tanween, you have a nasal sound which goes for 2 seconds, right? What is a tanween? It is basically a double stroke. So here, for example, you have a tanween of fatha, fatatain. That means it is 2 strokes of fatha, right? And the way you pronounce that is tan, tan. So remember the nasal sound. Remember when we've told you, you have the air in your nose pipe. And if you need to, you can screw up your face a little bit, screw up your nose a little bit if you need to, in order to actually feel the air in your nose, in order to make that nasal sound. Tan. Okay, fatatain. If you have a dhammatain, again, you have a dhamma and you have an upside down dhamma on top of it, 2 strokes, double stroke, dhammatain. Again, bun, bun. Okay. So again, you need to make that nasal sound for 2 seconds, right? And if you have a kasra and a kasratain, which again is a double kasra, 1 kasra on top of the other, and again, you need to make that nasal sound. So you would say, khin, khin. Okay? And it takes a bit of practice. Excuse me. It takes a little bit of practice, especially with your thick letters, and especially if you've got a kasra. Sometimes it can feel a bit difficult, but you just keep working on it, and you make sure whenever you see your tanween, you automatically go into your 2-second nasal sound. Okay, so let's move on. These are the basics. These are what you have already done and you already know, right? So let's move on. Let's see what comes next. We know that a mutaharrik letter is a letter which has a stroke, a letter carrying a stroke, right? So in these examples, we have an alif here with a fatha, we have an ayn with a fatha, we have a ta with a fatha, right? These are your mutaharrik letters, right? Your letters with a stroke. On the second side, we have a ta with a fatha and a ha with a fatha. Again, your mutaharrik letters. Any letter which carries a stroke like this is called a mutaharrik letter. Okay, so if you see a simple stroke like this, you know that is your mutaharrik letter, right? Now, a sakin letter, we have told you before, is a letter which has a sukoon. Again, these are still the basics. We haven't moved on yet. So if, for example, you have like this meme here and you have a sukoon on top, you know that that is your meme sakin. If you have a ra here with a sukoon on top, you know that is your ra sakin, right? It is your sakin letter, okay? Now here, as you can see, we have a noon sakin. In this section, we have a noon sakin, and in this section, we also have a noon sakin. How do you recognize a noon sakin? It's a noon with a sukoon on top, okay? Noon with a sukoon on top. So how do we then pronounce that? We're going to talk about how to pronounce that. So in this case, I'm going to just tell you quickly, it will be an'amta. Okay, in this case, tanhar, right? Let's move on. These are the basics still. We are now going to listen to how a noon sakin and tanween are read in practice. So you've looked at the simple basic form of noon sakin. Okay, you've looked at the basic form of tanween. How is it actually pronounced and read in practice? So I'm going to show you some examples from the Holy Quran. I just want you to listen and try to repeat after me as well. Okay, so listen and try to repeat after me at home, right? I'm just looking at the time. I think that, yeah, we should have time. Right, so here you can see Surah Ikhlas, Al-Ikhlas. Okay, many of you know this surah already. Okay, but when we are reading, we make sure that we read and we don't recite from memory when we are doing tilawat and we are reading and practicing, right? So this last verse here, if you look carefully, you can see here we have a noon sakin, okay? But you can also see that the next letter is a lam with a shadda on top. So let's think about how we're going to pronounce this, right? So we will pronounce this, and I'm just going to say this section here so that you can see. Yakullahu, yakullahu. Now, if you notice there, I joined the kaf straight to the lam, okay? And you didn't hear a nasal sound there. yakullahu. Right? So that entire last verse would be walam yakullahu kufuwan ahad. Right? I have not pronounced this noon. I've not made a nasal sound there. Okay, so that's one way that you might recite a noon sakin if you're following it with a lam mushaddad. Let's go on to our next one. Here we have a tanween of kasra. Right? This is Surah Al-Lahab. Again, a surah which is towards the end of the Quran Majid, and some of you may know by heart. Right? So we have a ba with a tanween of kasra, kasratain, but this time we are followed with a waw with a shadda on top. Waw mushaddad. Okay, so let's listen carefully to how this is going to be pronounced, and I will recite from the lam here. Okay? Lahabin watab. Lahabin watab. Okay, so again, you can see that I have here made that nasal sound. I have recited the kasratain, and I have joined it with the lam mushaddad, but you can hear a nasal sound there. And we'll look in a little bit detail what that's called in a moment. Okay, here we have a ra with a tanween of fatha, naran, naran. Okay, so that's how we pronounce it here. Here, now, I know that the circles are covering the letters very slightly, but you can see that you have a lam with a tanween of dhamma, followed by a mim mushaddad there. Okay, after the mim mushaddad, you have a noon sakin, a noon with a sukoon on top, but again you have a mim mushaddad afterwards. The line is covering it a little bit. Okay, so we need to think, okay, we have two mim mushaddads there. We have looked at mim mushaddad before. Mim mushaddad, or a mim with a shadda on the top, is also known as a mim gunna. Right? So we need to hold on this nasal sound here for 2 seconds. Right? This lam with a tanween of dhamma, we also need to make a nasal sound for. Right? So let's see how we're going to pronounce this. So we're going to say hab, because this is the first section here. Habalum nasad. Habalum nasad. So if you notice, I'm not making the noon sound here. I'm joining from the meme directly to the meme again. Okay? So like I said, we're going to go through these examples. We're going to go through why we do these things in a moment. Okay? Over here, we have a lam again with a tanween, followed by a lam mushaddad here. And again, a lam with a sukoon. So how are we going to pronounce this? We're not going to make the nasal sound here. We're going to join the lam directly to the lam here. So we're going to say, so this would be lullil, lullil. And if we're going to say the whole word together, the words I should say, fawailul lil musallin. Fawailul lil musallin. Okay. And again, over here, in Surah Al-Zilzal, we have a number of examples here. Let me just put this out of the way. So over here, we have a ya with a shadda on top. The letter before it has a tanween of kasra, kasratain. Okay, so how will we pronounce this? Yes, nasal sound. Yes. Okay. If we look at just the letters before and after so that we can say it all together, ma'izan yasdu, ma'izan yasduru. Okay, so you can hear the nasal sound here, right? Again, over here, we have a ta with a fatatain, followed by a lam with a shadda on top, right? Now, if we are to, as you can see, we've got two little strokes here, right? So we have the possibility of stopping here, right? But if we are not going to stop, how are we going to continue? It would be talli, talli, right? And over here, again, noon with a sukoon on top, noon sakin, followed by a ya with a shadda, ya mushaddad. So how will we say this? Maya. Maya. We then have to join to the ayn, right? So, فَمَن يَعْمَلْ فَمَن يَعْمَلْ. Over here, we have a ta with a kasratain. Okay, so how will we pronounce this? The next letter is a kha here. So we would say din, din, din khayran yara. Din khayran yara. This is a ya here, the circle's covered it slightly. Okay, again, noon with a sukoon, followed by a ya mushaddad. Man ya'mal. Man ya'mal. And over here we have a ra, which is a ra mushaddad, but it also has a tanween on top. Okay, and the next letter is a ya mushaddad, right? So this section, if we were just to recite it, would be ranya, ranya, where you can hear the nasal sound. If we're going to put that all together, sharanyara, sharanyara. So these are just some of the examples of what it looks like within the Quran Majid to have a noon sakin followed by a ya mushaddad. For example, it might be a letter or a lam mushaddad or a waw mushaddad we've seen in previous examples, okay, and how you will pronounce it. So let's move on. So there are certain rules that you have to follow, which are specifically related to noon sakin and tanween. So when there is a noon sakin or a tanween, then a nasal sound is made. This is automatic, you would make a nasal sound, right? But the type of nasal sound changes according to the next letter. So there are rules that tell you what nasal sound is, right? The next letter after a noon sakin or tanween decides on the type of nasal sound you are going to make, what the nasal sound will be. So you must always look at the next letter. And I think this is a common rule you've been looking at now throughout your Quran reading, that you have to look at the letter which comes after the letter you are reciting in order to make sure you are reciting the rule correctly or the letter correctly. Okay. So idgham, assimilation, which is basically what we have been doing and what I have been showing you. So a simpler word for assimilation is merging, where you are merging two letters together. Assimilation rules tell us how to merge sounds of certain letters after noon sakin or tanween. Right? So there are certain letters of assimilation, and these letters you will need to learn and you will need to know. So these letters are ya, ra, mim, lam, waw, and nun. The letters of assimilation, a way to remember them is yarmalun. If you see here, it says yarmalun. That's just a simple way of you remembering each of these 6 letters, right? Ya, ra, mim, lam, waw, nun. Okay. So if you see any of these mushaddad letters after noon sakin or tanween, there will be some sort of nasal sound. So we're talking specifically now about mushaddad letters. So if any of these letters here have a shadda on the top of them, there will be some kind of nasal sound, right? So in today's class, we're going to focus a little bit more on the ya and the waw, or the waw and the ya, right? So, excuse me. Let's look at noon sakin first of all, followed by waw mushaddad, right? So if you see it in the Quran, it will be written like this, okay? Mim with a noon, with a sukoon on top, waw with a shadda on top, right? And then you have an alif and a lam with the tanween, right? And it is read in the same way. But what you have here is you have what we call a half nasal sound. So let me recite it to you. So you would have a half nasal sound when reciting this. So the way that would be done is min walin, min walin. Okay, min walin. Min walin. So this is your half nasal sound here. So you're assimilating or merging these letters together, right? And in order to do that, you have to make a nasal sound. Okay, let's move on. Let's look at tanween now, followed by a waw mushaddad. The previous one we looked at was a noon sakin followed by a waw mushaddad. We are now looking at tanween followed by a waw mushaddad. Okay, so how will we do this? It's written like this. So you would see a bar, for example, with a tanween and a waw mushaddad afterwards, and it is pronounced in the same way, that you will make a half nasal sound. So the way you pronounce this is la'ibun wa lahwun. Okay, so you have here the tanween, and if you look at how it is read, you can see a single stroke here, a single stroke of ba, but you still need to make a half nasal sound, right? So a single dhamma stroke here, but with a half nasal sound. So la'ibun wa lahwun. La'ibun wa lahwun. Okay, so you can hear I'm merging this sound together and making a nasal sound when I'm doing it, right? So if you see a noon sakin or a tanween, a nasal sound will be made. That you all should know, that if you've seen a noon sakin or a tanween, you will have to make a nasal sound if the next letter has a shadda on the top, right? There are certain letters which we've just gone over, and you will learn all of them, so don't worry. So there are certain rules which tell you which nasal sound you have to make. The next letter after the noon sakin and tanween decides the nasal sound, so you must always look at the next letter. If the next letter is a waw with a shadda, or waw mushaddad, then you must make a half nasal sound, right? Let's move on. If you have a noon sakin now, followed by a ya mushaddad, how will that be said? It will be written like this, and it will be pronounced like this with a half nasal sound. So we will say, min yawmin, min yawmin. Again, half nasal sound, okay? Again, now, if you have a tanween followed by a ya mushaddad, so previously we looked at, if you look at the last slide, we looked at a noon sakin followed by a ya mushaddad. Now we are looking at a tanween followed by a ya mushaddad. How will we do it now? If it is written like this, how will we pronounce it? Again, you have the ra with the tanween, fatatain. You will just pronounce one of the fatas here, but you will still make your half nasal sound, right? So, khayran yara. Khayran yara. So there you are making your half nasal sound again, okay? So if you have a ya mushaddad, a ya with a shadda on top, okay, which follows a noon sakin or a tanween, any tanween, a fatatain, kasratain, or dhammatain, then you will make a half nasal sound, right? Excellent, good. So that is your new rule of the day. So you need to keep that in mind even throughout our recitation today. If you see a waw mushaddad or a ya mushaddad, right, coming after a noon sakin or a tanween, you need to make sure that you're making your half nasal sound. Okay, your assimilation, your idgham, right? Good, excellent. So in today's practice, we are going to be continuing looking at chapter 80. Okay, chapter 80. Surah Abasa, and let's move on to that. We started yesterday. You began yesterday. Yes, you began this yesterday, and we will begin here today from my pointer here. So if we can have a student on the mic, please, to begin.
Yes, G2 562.
Assalamu alaikum.
G2.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, G2 562. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so if we start with Taboos and Tasmiyah, and then what I will do is I will recite one verse at a time, and you can recite after me. Okay?
Okay.
Taboos.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Beautiful. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قتل الإنسان ما أكفره
قتل الإنسان ما أكفره
أكفره. Right, why am I stopping there? Why am I not pronouncing this ha here with a who?
Because it's the end of the verse.
Excellent. I'm doing a waqf. I'm doing a pause, right? So if we're going to continue into the next verse, then you said it correctly. It would be akfarahu min. But because I'm making a stop there, a waqf, then I put a sukoon on top of this ha and I say rah. Okay, well done. Can you tell me how long I'm going to pronounce this for?
2 seconds.
About 3 seconds, because this is one of our elongated signs. So we have to do a medium long elongation here, right? So ma, about 3 seconds. Good, well done. So I want you to take a nice deep breath in, and I want you to try again from here, from the qaf. Okay, off you go.
قتل الإنسان ما أكفره.
Very nice, beautiful, much better than the first time, mashallah, and the first time you read it well as well. So make sure here you have 2 seconds here. Insanu. Try that.
إنسان.
Very good. Once more from the beginning here.
قتل الإنسان ما أكفره.
Beautiful. And you did that all in one breath. That was really good. Excellent. So I want you to keep trying that. Take a nice deep breath in before you start your verse, so you can get as many of the words out in one breath as possible. Okay, let me go on to the next one. Min ayyi shay'in khalaqah.
Min.
So here I want you to say it clearly. Okay, min ayyi shay'in khalaqah.
من أي شيء خلقه.
Very good. Well done. So here we have a ya mushaddad, right? So we need to pronounce this ya really clearly, and we have to harden it, right? So you'll say ay. Ay. Very good. Once we have joined it, we have to then pronounce this kasra underneath as well. So we will have to say ayyi.
Ayyi.
Beautiful. Ayyi.
Ayyi.
Good. Well done. Min ayyi.
Min ayyi.
Very good. So let's try it once more. Min ayyi shay'in khalaqah.
من أي شيء خلقه.
Really good effort. I want you to just work on this a little bit. Once more. Really focus on saying ayyi. So you're joining the alif to the ya and then the ya with the kasra. All right, once more.
أي شيء خلقه.
Much better. Excellent. Try it from the first word.
من أي شيء خلقه.
Excellent. Very good. Let's move on. Let's do the next verse. Min nutfa. Right, let me finish it. I'm going to do a break here because of this sign. So I'm going to do a waqf, but I will continue to the end of the verse. Okay, so let me finish first, all right? Min nutfa khalaqahu faqaddarah.
من نطفة خلقه فقدره.
Really good. You really pushed down well here. That was really good. You said qadda, so really made that dal hard. That was really good. Let's just work on this one slightly. So if we have a noon here with a shadda, it means excuse me, it means we have a noon mushaddad or a noon gunna. So we need to hold and make a nasal sound for about 2 seconds. Min.
Min.
Very good. We then have to join this noon with the dhamma to the ta. Minut.
Minut.
Very good. Min nutfa.
Min nutfa.
Min nutfa. Khalaqahu faqaddarah.
Min tafaha.
Once more from here. Min nut.
Min nut. Fatih.
Min nutfa.
Min nutfa. Khalaqahu faqaddaruh.
Faqaddarah. Very good. Really good effort. So just keep working on it. Keep slowing down and making sure you're really pushing on your mashaddad letters, which you were doing really well. And taking it slowly. Do one bit at a time and then put it back together. Once you've got one bit right, you add on to the next bit. Okay. Jazakumullah. Thank you so much for your help. Allah
Can my
Hafiz.
sister have a go?
I'm not sure. Discipline in charge. Do you...
Yes, I checked the ID.
Okay. Okay. The next ID is
G2 563.
G2563. Wa alaikum assalam. G2563. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so if we start with Taboos and Tasmiyah, then we'll move on.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Very nice. Well done.
ثم
Okay, so I'm going to recite and then you recite afterwards. Okay, I'm going to recite this verse. I'm going to make a stop. I'm going to make a pause, and then I'm going to continue to recite to the end of the line. All right. So once I've completed both of these verses, then I want you to recite. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. ثم السبيل يسره ثم أماته فأقبره. Okay.
ثم السبيل يسره ثم أماته فأقبره.
Excellent effort. Really, really good. Well done. You really slowed down. You tried to reach each sound well. You tried to hold down on your mim mushaddad here and here. That was really good, making that nasal sound. Brilliant. Can you just tell me what this letter is here? Alif. Well done. This is an alif. So when you recite this, you have to say fa-akbara. Okay, let's do that. Fa-akbara. Well done. Excellent. So we're going to try it once more. I just want you to just do this first section, the first verse there.
Summa sabi illa jasara.
Good effort. Really good. You made sure you tried to read each letter. Can you remind me, if we have a ya with a sukoon and the letter before has a kasra, how long will we say this sound for? Do you remember?
2 seconds.
Brilliant. Well done. Excellent. Because this is a ya mad. So could you try once more and make sure you say this section for 2 seconds? Okay, off you go.
Summa sabila jasara.
Okay, good. Well done. So just listen to me once more. We have 2 blank letters here, but we're going to ignore those. So just pretend they're not there. Okay, so we're going to join the meme directly to the scene here, right? Thummasa. Very good. So we don't want to make a break there at all. Thummasabila.
Sabila
Yassara.
jasara.
Thummasabila yassara.
ثم س ثم ثم سبي
Good, well done.
ثم
ثم السبيل يسره.
ثم السبيل
يسره. Good, well done. And the next one. ثم أماته فأكبره.
ثم أمته
أماته
فأكبره.
Very good, really, really good effort. Well done. So keep, what I want you to do is keep working on it slowly, break it down, even if it's just 2 letters. Make sure you really understand and you really say those 2 letters well, then add another letter in, then add another letter in. And that way, as you build it up, your fluency will become so much better as well. Okay, you're really working on trying to make sure that you know the rules at the same time, which was really good. So make sure you work on your elongation. So your ya mad, your alif mad here, your inverted stroke here. So you're elongating every letter the correct amount of time. Okay, Jazakumullah, thank you so much for your help. Allah Hafiz. Okay, if we could have our next student, please.
Yes, G2564.
G2564, Assalamu alaikum. G2564.
Okay. No response, so we'll move to another student then. G2693.
G2693. G2693.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Are you understanding everything okay?
Yes.
Excellent, good. Right, so we're going to start from here. I'll start with Taboos and Tasmiyah. You start with Taboos and Tasmiyah, sorry, and then I will begin. I will recite these 2 verses and then you will recite after me. Okay, off you go.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Beautiful, well done. Okay, so we're going to start from here, right? ثم إذا شاء أنشره كلا لما يقض ما أمره.
ثم إذا شاء أنشره كلا لما يقضي ما أمره.
Really, really good. You made sure that you said every letter, you waited, you made sure you were going to say it properly, and then you could pronounce the correct letter. So that was really good. Well done. Your elongation was good. You did the elongation properly here and here. How many seconds is this one? Do you remember? Remember how many seconds you have to elongate for here?
46 counts.
Good, well done. 4 to 6 counts, for about 4 to 6 counts. Okay, depending on how much you can hold your breath in and you can hold that sound for. And this one here?
3 to 5 counts.
Brilliant, well done. 3 to 5 counts, well done. So I want you to just do one verse, just the first verse here. We'll just check that again.
ثم إذا شاء أنشره.
Very good. Next one.
كلا لما يقضي ما أمره.
Really good. So your pronunciation was really good. You're saying all of your letters. Lamma, you held on that mim guna, which was really good. You made your nasal sound there. and then you elongate it for 2 seconds afterwards as well. You also held here, so thumma, okay, which is really important. You need to hold on that sound. So what I really want you to do now, because mashallah, you're saying each letter well, I want you to try and focus on taking really, really nice deep breath in and reciting as much of the verse as you can when you're practicing in one breath, and just see how far you can go. Okay, and the more you practice that, you fill up your air with tummy, the more air you have inside your lungs and your tummy, the longer you can recite one breath for without making a break. Okay, so just keep working on your breath work, and the more you work on your breath work, it will help your fluency and help you to recite more of a verse within one breath. Okay, Jazakumullah, thank you so much for your help. Allah Hafiz. Okay, so before we continue, excuse me, in today's lesson, in today's schedule, as you can see, we are going to be looking at QRS 4, part 18 today. So we're going to go over to there now. QRS 4, part 18. So on to the 18th part, the 18th Sabara of the Holy Quran. This Sabara, or this part, will start in Surah Al-Mu'minun, which is Surah number 23, and it starts at verse number 2. And you can see the words that it begins with, Qad aflaha, right? So if we take a quick look at our Holy Quran, just a second, over here. So as you can see, Al-Mu'minun, right? You can see this is part number 18, which is written here, part number 18. And you can see that I put the verse number in here, which is verse number 2. And you can see the highlighted or enlarged letters here, which show the beginning of part number 18, beginning of the part. And what do they begin with? Qad aflaha. Qad aflaha. Okay, and in order to know where we end, where this ends, we go back, and we can see that it will end in just a sec. It will end at Surah Al-Furqan, which is chapter number 25, verse 21. So chapter number 25, verse 21 will be the last ayat or last verse of part number 18. Okay, so again, we have a new part name, which is Qad aflaha. Okay, part number 18. Good. So if we can continue, please, with recitation. If we could have our next student, please.
Yes, our next student is G2 724.
G2 724.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, thank you. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. So we're going to start from here, and we're going to start with Taboos and Tasmiyah. So if you start with Taboos and Tasmiyah, and then we'll recite 2 verses up to here.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Beautiful, well done. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Excuse me. فلينظر الإنسان إلى طعامه أنا سببنا الماء صبا. Sorry. أنا صببنا الماء صبا. Okay, off you go.
فلينظر الإنسان إلى طعامه أنا صببنا الماء صبا.
Beautiful, really nice recitation. Well done. How many seconds do we do this for?
4 to 6 seconds.
Excellent, well done. Now, here I made a stop. So I didn't elongate the ha here. But if I was not to stop and if I would have continued, how many seconds would I have elongated this for?
3 to 5 seconds.
Brilliant. Well done. Excellent. So your extended elongation, 3 to 5, 4 to 6, depending on your breath, how much of a breath you can take in. Okay. So I want you to go once more, and I want you to just think about, remember your nasal sounds that you need to make here, okay, and here, right? So once more from here.
فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَّا طَعَامِهِ.
Okay, good. So you didn't do a vaqf there and you carried on, which was fine. But if you were going to do a vaqf, how would you say that if you were going to do a stop?
Me.
Me. Well done. Good. Excellent. So let me recite once more for you. فَلْيَنْظُرِ. Okay. فَلْيَنْظُرِ.
فَلْيَنْظُرِ.
Very good. Now, the ra, excuse me, we have to join with the lam. So, فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَى طَعَامِهِ.
فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَّا طَعَامِهِ.
Very good. Well done. Can you just say these two letters for me?
إِلَى.
Very good. So what I want you to be really, really careful of, because this is something that we often do, when we're reciting quickly, it sounds sometimes like we're joining these letters. So we need to be really careful to say ila and not say it too quickly that it sounds like illa. So it doesn't sound like we've got a shadda there, right? So ila, make it really specific that you're saying them separately. Once more. Ila.
Ila.
Very good. Once more from the beginning of this verse.
فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَّا طَعَامِهِ.
Okay, good. Just keep practicing on that, making sure you're saying each letter separately. Okay, let's move on. أَنَّا صَبَبْنَا الْمَاءَ صَبًّا.
أَنَّا صَبَبْنَا الْمَاءَ صَبًّا.
Very good. Excellent elongation there. Well done. You elongated properly here as well. And here when you're doing your vaqf. So you didn't say ban, you said ba, which was correct because you're making a stop there. So that's really good. Once more on this verse.
أَنَّا صَبَّبْنَا الْمَاءَ صَبًّا.
Very good. Well done. Excellent. Good. Jazakumullah. Thank you so much for your help. G2724. Allah Hafiz.
Can my cousin read?
I don't know. We'll have to ask the discipline in charge. Could you say the number, please?
The ID.
G2632.
G2
632.
Okay, yeah, she can read it.
G2632. Assalamu alaikum. G2632. Are they in the same house?
I just mute. They are not unmuted.
They're not unmuted. G2632.
Maybe we can
Try again afterwards. Yeah.
Okay. G2726.
G2726. Assalamu alaikum. G2726.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. Are you understanding everything okay?
Yep.
Excellent. So if we start with Taboos and Tasmiyah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Very nice. So I'm going to recite 2 verses and then I want you to have a go, okay?
Yep.
Okay. قتل الإنسان ما أكفره من أي شيء خلقه.
قتل الإنسان ما أكفره من أي شيء خلقه.
Very nice. Well done. Excellent. Can you tell me how long we recite this sound for?
3 to 5 seconds.
Very good. So I want you next time, I want you to try and make sure you elongate this sound for about 3 to 5 seconds. Okay, once more from here.
قتل الإنسان ما أكفره.
Very good. Well done. Now, here I also need you to make a nasal sound. So, insanu. So you have to elongate this slightly with your nasal sound. Insanu. Try that.
إنسان.
Very good. Well done. Now I want you to start from the beginning, making sure you make your correct sound here and your elongated sound here as well. Off you go.
قتل الإنسان ما أكفره.
Very good. Very good. You did it in one breath. That was really good. You could hear that you'd taken a breath in and you tried to recite it all together. Off you carry on.
من أي شيء خلقه.
Very good. Well done. I really like the fact that you're trying to make your sound thick here and here. So you can hear the thickness. You could hear that you're making your thick sounds. Once more here.
من أي شيء خلقه.
Very good. Lovely recitation, G2 726. Really good. Keep working on your breath work. The bigger the breath you can take in, the more easily the flow will come out, especially when you have to elongate. So for example, this one, you had to make a nasal sound, you had to elongate here and here, and you, mashallah, still managed to do it all in one breath. So that was really good. So keep just working on that. Jazakumullah, thank you for your help. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Have our next student, please.
Yes, it's G2626.
G262.
So apologies,
Sorry.
it's not here.
Okay.
G2620.
G2620. Excuse me. G2620, are you here? No.
Okay. G262. G2629.
G2629.
Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Are you understanding everything okay?
Yeah.
Excellent. Good. So we're going to recite the next two verses. If you could do Taboos and Tasmiyah, and then we'll begin.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Jazakallah. Now, I want you to remember here, excuse me, we have a noon mushaddad here, which makes that a noon gunna. So we're going to need to hold on that nasal sound for 2 seconds, right? So when I recite, I will recite minnot, okay? Making a nasal sound for about 2 seconds. We also have, excuse me, we also have a mim mushaddad, which makes that a mim gunna. That will also, we have to make a nasal sound there for 2 seconds. Thummas. Okay, so I'm going to recite. I want you to listen carefully. And when it's time for you to recite, I want you to really focus on making those sounds there, right? Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Min nutfa khalaqahu faqaddara thumma as-sabila yassara.
من نطفة خلقه فقدره
Good.
ثم السبيل يسره.
Really good. Well done. You made sure that you said every letter. You were trying to pronounce them all correctly. So that was really good. So what I want you to do next time, I want you to take a really deep breath in so that you can say as many words as possible together without having to take another breath. Okay, so let's try once more. Min nutfa. So we can take a breath there because we're stopping. Min nutfa. خلقه فقدره. Have a go.
من نطفة خلقه فقدره.
It's okay.
خلقه فقدره.
Really good. You made sure you elongated there. You made sure to make that ha there with the sukoon, rah. فقدره. And you really try to push on that dal there with the shadda as well. So very good. Carry on with the next one. ثم السبيل يسره.
ثم السبيل يسره.
Really good effort. Well done. Well done. You corrected it as well. So you really need to make sure that you push down. ثم السبيل يسره, which you did at the end. So once more.
ثم السبيل يسره.
Really, really good effort. So the only thing there that you just need to be careful with is to make sure that you elongate your ba here, because you have a ya with a sukoon on top. The letter, the ba has a kasra, so that makes that a ya mad. So bila. Okay, so just practicing it. You did it really well. You tried to make sure you had the whole thing in one breath, which was really good. So now you just need to make sure that all of your elongated letters are pronounced for the correct amount of time. Okay, Jazakumullah, thank you so much, G2629. Allah Hafiz. Okay, mashallah, everybody's done really well today. Excuse me, we're coming to the end of our class, so quick recap on what we've covered today. We've looked at assimilation, idgham, in particular idgham nakhis. Remember, assimilation means merging. We have looked at chapter 80, verses 18 to 34. We've looked at part 18 of the Holy Quran today, which begins with the words qad aflaha, which begins at Surah Al-Mu'minun, chapter 23, verse 2. And we would like for you, please, in your homework to practice the rules you have covered so far when you're doing your daily tilawat as well. Okay, if we can have, please, our final student for our final prayer.
Yes, G2621.
G2621. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Are we ready to do your final prayer?
Allahumma hamni bil-Qur'anil azim.
Very nice. Could you read the translation?
O Allah, have mercy on me through the Quran the Great. Waj'alhu li imaman wa nuran wa hudan wa rahmah.
And the translation?
And make it for me the leader, the light, the guidance, and the mercy.
Beautiful. Well done. Jazakumullah. Jazakumullah to all our students, all our parents and helpers, people who are sitting with our students today. And inshallah, we will see you all again tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.